Have you ever gone to a room in Rec Room where everything has just been super expensive to a point where you don't have enough tokens to buy anything? And the few things that you maybe can buy just aren't worth your tokens because you've been saving up for that new outfit item. Well, that exact problem has been experienced by millions of players, and it's rooted in Rec Room's token economy, which I know sounds really boring, but it's interesting, I swear. And today, we're gonna be diving into the token economy, which is the reason why you probably have barely any tokens and why everything also seems so expensive. Real quick, if you wanna do something that doesn't cost any tokens, you can use my code in-game to support me, BVRR, on your profile just like this. So let's begin by going into a history of tokens right after a brief word from today's sponsor, VRWave. VRWave is a company that creates special lenses for VR headsets. They create lenses that correct nearsightedness, farsightedness, and astigmatism so that if you wear glasses, you don't need to worry about fumbling around with them under your headset anymore. And if you're like me and you don't wear glasses, then they also have blue light filtering and anti-glare lenses that help reduce eye strain. VRWave makes lenses for the Quest 2, Index, Reverb, PSVR, basically any headset. If you use it, they've probably got it. And the best part is VRWave ships worldwide, so no matter where you are, they can get it to you. It's super easy to order. Just go to the link in the description or the pinned comment and fill out the form to get started. Thanks to VRWave for sponsoring this video, and let's get into that history of tokens. Tokens were first added to Rec Room around 2017, and at the time it was like a very standard video game currency. At the time, Rec Room was only Rec Room Originals, so you'd get tokens from playing Rec Room Originals and then you'd be able to spend them on outfit items. It was pretty standard stuff, and I'd say a usual amount of tokens to have was maybe a couple thousand if you were saving up. The next major change to tokens came in 2019, where the ability to buy them with real money was added. At the time, being able to buy tokens with money was a highly requested feature from the community, so it was actually pretty well received when it was added. But then, slowly over time, Rec Room would start to change, and the token economy changed with it. It was also around 2020 that Rec Room started focusing a lot more on custom rooms, and honestly becoming a lot more like Roblox. And along with this, they decided they were going to sneakily try and make tokens more like a premium currency like Robux. Now, they couldn't just make it impossible for free-to-play players to get tokens, because they would get a ton of backlash and everyone would be mad. But they could make it way harder for free-to-play players to get as many tokens. And so the infamous rewards update was introduced. This update made it so that instead of getting a random amount of tokens like before, you would instead get a selection of 3 things on finishing a game. In doing this, they ended up giving out way more value from the expensive outfit items, but people were getting way less actual tokens, which was their goal. Because it was also in 2020 that they introduced the ability for creators to sell inventions and room keys for tokens. And Rec Room is incentivizing more and more for custom rooms to have good keys that people can spend tokens in. It's becoming more and more of their economy. So unless you're really active and you save up a whole bunch, if you want to buy things in custom rooms somewhat frequently, you're probably going to have to pay actual money for tokens. Which leads us to now, the current state of the token economy. I'd like to categorize the current token economy into 3 different classes of people. There is the upper class, which is creators who sell stuff in game and then get tokens from people purchasing their work. I would say that this class ranges from the hundreds of thousands of tokens to the millions of tokens, depending on how successful you are. But the main idea with this class is that they usually have enough tokens to buy whatever they want whenever. Next up, there is the middle class, which is players with Rec Room Plus or players who spend money to buy tokens in the game. I would say that this middle class that semi-frequently spends money on the game usually has about 20,000 to 100,000 tokens. They usually have enough money to buy outfits and stuff in custom rooms, but they still have to be careful with how much they buy. And then finally, there is the lower class, which is free-to-play players who only get tokens through doing Rec Room Originals. This lower class can range from having 0 tokens to around 20,000 tokens if they really save up over a few months. This group of people very rarely has enough money to buy stuff in custom rooms or more expensive outfit items. Yes, I did just categorize Rec Room players into an upper, middle, and lower class based on their, token wealth. You can tell how much I've thought about this subject. Now that we've defined these different groups of people, we can talk about the issues that come from having these different groups. I'd say that the biggest issue is one we've already talked about a bit. It's that the lower class of free-to-play players has it way too hard to get tokens. It makes it way too hard for them to buy stuff, especially in custom rooms, which is actually affected by something else we'll talk about in a bit too. I'd say the next biggest issue is that creators are paid out in tokens when people purchase their stuff instead of just being given money worth the same value. This is what causes creators to have millions of tokens in in the first place. It also has the other side effect of a lot of creators not cashing out those tokens for money like they deserve and instead spending those tokens back into Rec Room. A lot of younger creators especially don't see the value and actual money that they have in their tokens, so they go and spend it all in gifts and stuff. This is kind of scummy on Rec Room's part because it's sort of a way for them to not have to pay out as much money to younger creators who don't cash out as much because they don't see that value. And the third biggest issue is that Rec Room actually incentivizes creators and itself to price items high enough that the middle and upper class can buy them, but the lower class can't. It makes sense logistically, right? The lower class doesn't have as many tokens to spend, so you can't get as many from them, and also the tokens they do have, they're going to be more reluctant to spend on stuff they might not need. And so it's not really worth it for creators to price stuff around like 10 tokens when they could price it around 100 tokens, and the lower class isn't going to buy it either way. Because of this, creators are more incentivized to price their things in the hundreds and thousands of tokens for the middle and upper class, which sort of leaves the lower class in the dust. Ink Inc. is an official part of Rec Room that helps control the economy, and in their Discord they have a section dedicated to recommended prices for different kinds of inventions and room keys. And you can see here some of these prices are kind of absurd. Who is going to want to spend thousands of tokens for a single key in a room? Ink Inc. is basically always experimenting and pushing creators with how far they can raise their prices to cut out the lower class and get even more money from the other classes. So this is why sometimes you'll go into custom rooms and the cheapest thing there will be like 500 tokens, which is super expensive for some people. Rec Room has even been experimenting on doing this with official outfit items, with like the Amulet of Elsewhere from a few weeks back being 20,000 tokens. And a lot of the new outfit items they're releasing are also pretty expensive. So we've outlined these three main problems with the current Rec Room token economy. Now, how do we fix them? I think that the way to fix these problems is just to try and remove this class difference, or at least minimize it as much as we can. I mean, come on, you gotta know there's something wrong with your economy when the majority of people are super poor and the top 1% holds the majority of the wealth. So first off, we can easily deal with the upper class by knocking them down to everybody else. All Rec Room has to do is pay out creators in actual money instead of tokens, and then creators won't have millions of tokens for no reason anymore. Creators will still get their money for selling stuff as they deserve, and it'll actually also help by cutting out tokens as the middleman, which will then help stop that weird predatory thing I talked about earlier where people will sometimes put all their tokens back into the game instead of cashing them out. So there we go. Just like that, the upper class has now been eliminated, and creators need to buy tokens like everyone else. It's making everyone happy. With closing the middle class and lower class, that's a lot more difficult. The first thing I thought of was shifting tokens to be a free currency and more like how it used to be and not have it be also premium. And then alongside that, introduce a premium currency that you can buy with real money. This was actually inspired by Roblox, because before Roblox just had their premium currency of Robux, they also had a free one called Tix. However, the more I thought about it, the more this two currency approach didn't actually seem to work. Like, which currency would people use to buy outfit items? Which currency would people use to buy stuff in custom rooms? Would creators get to pick which currency people buy their stuff with? When people purchase creators' stuff with these currencies, are they worth like different amounts when creators get their tokens or money from them or whatever? And even if you could answer all of these questions, I don't even think it'd help close the class difference, because then the middle class would just have a bunch of the premium currency and the lower class wouldn't, and we'd be at basically the same problem again. So yeah, the two currency idea didn't really work out. I think there's maybe some way it could work, but I couldn't figure it out. In the end, I really think that the best solution here is the simplest one. Just give free-to-play players more tokens. Just make it so there's more ways to get tokens for free, or you get more tokens from games, or like you have more boxes you can get per day. In doing this, free-to-play players will be able to grind more, and if they play enough, they can start to match the middle class in the amount of tokens they have. This will make the lower class happy because they have more tokens and they can actually buy stuff now. The middle class will still be happy because they can still buy tokens to skip that grinding and playing the game to get those tokens. Creators will be happy because they can now keep their prices the same or even lower them and make more money or around the same because there's now a bigger potential market buying their stuff. And Rec Room is still somewhat happy because people are still buying tokens to skip that grinding. However, Rec Room here is still the one that's getting hurt the most because the easier they make it to get tokens for free, the less people they'll buy tokens and the less money they make. And that is exactly why this is never going to happen. Over the past few years, Rec Room has actually been working in the exact opposite direction of this. They've made tokens harder for free-to-play players to get, they've raised prices on basically anything. I don't know what would make them change their mind now and suddenly give free-to-play players more tokens. And so, because of this, the class difference will likely stand, and the token economy and class difference will probably get even worse as time goes on. If you want to watch a video where Rec Room talks about potentially adding custom avatars in the future, then click here, but otherwise, that's going to be it for me now. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.